Hey, this is Bill. Checking in with Paul McWhorter's Pico W class. This is, I can't believe it, we're class 61. And the assignment was to do functions. And the object is to be modular. By the way, Paul, this is a great class, and I kind of dinked a little bit with functions, but it's great to hear you kind of describe stuff with it. So again, thank you. I learned a lot, and you put things in a way that's easy to understand. We'll see what's going on. I don't have anything exciting to show. Um, so I'm just putting up the code, and I think before the microphone was working off of the phone. I don't know. I should probably invest in a microphone. I know these are always really quiet, and it'd be more polite for you guys. But anyways, that's out of the mix. So we'll see if the sound is any better for you guys. Okay, anyways, we're supposed to do functions, and the functions that he wanted us to do was if we were going to make a program to average grades or evaluate grades from students. And so the first part is he wanted to make a function where you're entering grades. Then he wanted a function for average. Then he wanted the maximum and minimum. And he then wanted the sort it from a high grade to the low grade. And so this is how I went about it. And I kind of had to look back at some stuff, but I had done this previously a few years ago. I didn't ever look at the live classes, but Paul kind of went over this a little bit. And so I had done the bubble sorter. I looked back, and I needed a refresher. But anyways, what we're doing right off the bat right here is we're setting up the array called grades. This def intergrades is the function, and I started off with Paul showed us that you could do a global variable rather than local variables. He said he was not a fan of doing global variables, and the example was if you had area of a circle and area of a rectangle or something else, that area could be interpreted by both things, and it could goof things up because you've got two different things with the same name. Num grades is probably not one that you'd have to worry about too much, but anyways, I was kind of trying both. So he said you could do global variables, but then he got rid of that, and he said you could do return grades. I'm doing both. So anyways, as num grades, make that an integer and put how many grades do you have, and then I put you declared the num grades, the number of grades for I in range from 0 to num grades. I don't know as I need this 1 here to advance by 1, but anyways, and then I print everything. So these grayed out things are stuff that I print out just because you can take a look at it and see what's going on, and it gives me insight to what I actually told the computer to do. Okay, and then you return grades. So this is what's going to go to the main program, and that's what it's going to shoot to the main program. Okay, the next function was for the average. Oh, rewind a little bit. Then grade, I put that as a float because somebody could have potentially a 95.5, or more realistically for this thing is we want an average, and so chances of getting doing division and getting a decimal point is high, very likely, and so I put a float for that. And then the way you add to grades, you say grades dot append grade, and so you put in the grade and then it adds it to grades up here in this array. Then you return grades. The next function was to average the grades. I start out with total equals 0, and then, oh, I was goofing with, I had an issue and I was wondering if it was confusing I and J, so anyways, I was printing this stuff out, and again, that's just for debugging on my part. But anyways, we said total is 0 for J in the range from 0 to length of grades. So in this instance, I'm not calling the global variable, and I wanted a way to get around that. So the length of grades, it counts how many grades there are, and that's how the program will do it. This is, I guess, some function that's like a built-in function. Then I go total equals total plus grades of J, and then you calculate the average. So I said the float of the total, this total, divided by the length of grades, and we're returning the average here. Then here's a function for the minimum and maximum grade, and I called the function max min grades. We start out with a minimum of 100 and the max of 0, and the reason being is if this was a test from 0 to 100, you want to let me get a sip of water here. Excuse me, sorry about that. You want it to pick up everything. So if you call minimum 100, everything is going to be below that unless everybody had 100, I guess. And the same thing with the maximum. If you had a 0, then any grade above 0 is going to be included in the maximum. So for I in range of 0 num grades, so here's where I'm using the global variable in here because I wanted to try that out. Yeah, you can see I use num grades to try and include the global variable. If grades of I is greater than the minimum, or I'm sorry, if grades of I is less than the minimum, then minimum equals grades of I. If grades of I is greater than the maximum, then max equals grades of I. So now, as we're going from going through those, it'll take all the grades and it'll compare them, and it'll assign the lowest to the lowest and the highest to the highest. And then it's going to return max and minimum. Two things here, so there's a comma. And then here's the function to sort grades low to high. And so I have, and that's not what Paul asked us to do, but you'll see why I did this in just a second. So the function, I've got low to high of grades. Oh, did I say of grades in here? Max minimum of grades, so it's picking grades. I should have said that earlier. And then I put watch it bubble high to low. I printed that out there, and it'll make sense in just a second why I did that. And you've got to have two for loops. So let's go to this guy, and I have for I in range from 0 to num grades -1. And the reason why you've got to have the -1 in there is because this if grades of I is greater than or less than grades of I plus 1. So if you go to grades I plus 1, it's going to go beyond what your range of grades. So it'll be out of range. You'll get the out of range error in there. So what I did was I said, if grades of I is less than grades of I plus 1, then swap equals grades of I. And then I have grades of I equals grades of I plus 1. And then I say grades of I plus 1 equals swap, which is the grades of I. So we're flipping those two. And then within the for loop, I put print grades, and I've got watch it bubble, and that'll make sense when I get to that point. And then return grades. Okay, and so now, oh, I think I jumped around here, but it's the same thing. All I'm doing is switching, from low to high to high to low. All you're doing is you're switching this less than and greater than signs. So it's easy to change it back and forth. It's essentially the same code, or it is the same code with just that difference. Okay, so now we get to the actual program, while true. So we're going enter grades. So we're calling this function enter grades, and we print array of grades, and we print the array of grades. Then the next one, I put average equals average grades, print average of grades, average. So this average here, what we're doing is we're calling this return av. And we're doing the average of the array of grades. And so we just print that, and we'll print the average. Max, min, those are we're calling from the return up here, max, min. So we're grabbing that, and that equals, and this is the function of grades. And then we print high grade, max, low grade, min. Then the next one, we go grades equals low to high grades, excuse me. And because we did in this low to high grades, we return grades. So that's where I get the grades from here equals low to high grades. Then I printed this just to make a space, this just to make a space, just so it reads easier. And then final low to high array of grades. And this is the same thing. So now let's go down. I already ran this once, but I did it kind of, I picked things that we could easily watch and see what's going on. So I had 10 grades that I entered, input the grade, You can see graphically what I did is I'm mixing them up so it's high, low, next high, next low, you know, so on. So I did 10, 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6, 5. So you can see I'm picking them so they bounce around. Also, you take a look at that. That's 10. 1 and 9 is 10, 2 and 8 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10, 4 and 6 is 10, and 5. So easily add those. That's 55 divided by 10 for the average is 5.5. So you can take a look at this, and this is the array to begin with. So 10, 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6, 5. That's the order that they're in. We average the grades. That actually, we did that correctly. It's 5.5. The high grade is 10. The low grade is 1. And then now the final low to high array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see it sorted it appropriately. So now grades is actually, it's not this mixed up thing anymore. We've changed it. So it's all in order from low to high. And this is why I said watch it bubble. And I've got, like I said, I've got that in the for loop. So here we go. Yeah, I put this within this for loop. So what it's doing is we come in here, it's cranking through this one, and then when it gets through the first one, then it goes to the next die up here, and then it cranks through this, and then it kicks it out and goes to the next one. But you can see what it's doing is it's comparing them. So we take a look at this, and I think this really shows, and actually this helped me to do the bubble sorter. I printed it out originally so I could see what was going on. So this is the first time through. You can see it compared 1 and 2 and swapped them. And then, so this was going through the for loop, and then it goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then it goes to the next one through in the for loop. And now we're not comparing these two anymore, we're comparing these two. And so you can see the 3 and the 1 switched. Then the next time through the for loop, you can see that's the same, that's the same. It's now comparing these two. So it moved the 4 over and the 1 here. And so you get what I'm saying. But here's the bubble part. You can see the 1 goes here, bubble, 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 bubble. Okay, and you can see all these are 2. So now when it switches to 3, we're comparing the 3 and the 4. So now it's gone through the outer for loop, and so it goes through the second for loop through all of these. When it gets to 4, that's the outside for loop, and then it's doing all this inside for loop, gets to 5, the outside for loop. Anyways, so that's it, and you can see the final high to low array. What Paul really wanted was 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it starts over. How many grades do you have? So that's the way I did it, and you know, actually printing it out, what it was doing was a big help to me, and I actually figured it out. I kind of looked at it a little bit, and I was still scratching my head, but you print this out, and it just makes a lot of sense. You can see what you're really telling the thing to do. Anyways, that's it. I hope the sound is better, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.